Hello, I'm Robert, and tonight we're going to speak about regulatory capture. It's a thing that some people may know about, probably most don't. It's basically about where the people who regulate industries and that get captured by the people they're actually regulating. Anyway, I'll just start and read. Regulatory capture. Be it in Australia, Canada, Italy, America, France, Britain, and so on, most countries have an administration called a regulator. These authorities have been established so they can watch over different industries, corporations, businesses. For example, the EPA stands for Environmental Protection Authority. Officially, they are meant to be an independent statutory authority. Their task or job is to basically protect the environment from all types of pollution and waste by regulating the business or industry that may produce pollution or waste. Another regulator is the TGA. Stands for Therapeutic Goods Administration. Their task is, or what they are responsible for, is regulating items such as medical devices, prescriptions, medicines, vitamins, blood products, vaccines, sunscreens, etc. There are also regulators for finance and banking. There is a clean energy regulator, a competition and consumer regulator. There are regulators for the mining industry, and so on. These regulators work for the government, meaning in fact they work for us, the people. So they're meant to regulate these industries to ensure they don't damage the environment and that they protect us, the people. But there are serious flaws in how these regulators work, in my opinion. They are meant to exist to protect us, the people, from an industry doing the wrong thing. The term regulatory capture comes from the fact that that particular industry actually capture the regulator. So what ends up happening is that industry ends up actually regulating the regulator. This comes about by several different faults. You see, if you want to work for a government regulator, for instance, regulating the medications and vaccines, well, you have to have experience in that area. So you may come from come as a chemist or a professor who may have worked for a pharmaceutical company, but now you have moved across out of the private sector into the public government, into a public or government department. Sorry, I just missed there again. But now you have moved across out of the private sector into the public or government department of the regulator. But all your contacts and colleagues you left in the private sector, that pharmaceutical company, are going to be the people you are going to be regulating. So now you've come from the pharmaceutical company as a high-end professor or chemist, and now you've gone to the public sector and you're working for the regulator, the government, but you're going to be regulating the industry and the people that you've been working for years. It goes the other way as well. If you have been working for the government as a regulator, you may have been treating the pharmaceutical company with gentle cotton gloves, being quite kind and liberal to them, looking after their interests instead of our interests, the people. For when you leave the government department, there could be a plum job waiting for you at the big pharmaceutical companies, because you have been a good little fellow to them in a manner of, well, not doing the most thorough checking on the data they gave you for the new medication they wish to get to the market. Or maybe you should have asked more questions of real relevance. Instead, you only asked questions that weren't detrimental to the new drug, just superficial stuff to create some theatre that, of course, you're doing your job. The end result is the regulator ends up looking after the pharmaceutical company instead of looking after us, the citizens. Some economists or other learned people claim that regulatory capture is just a vague theory. For anybody to make such a claim, in my opinion, they would have to be intellectually lazy or corrupt in a manner that is in their interest, that the general public never get the slightest notion that that regulatory capture could even exist. Therefore, if any professor, bureaucrat, politician, regulator or officialdom ever get pressed on this question, they in fact have no real authentic moral argument against regulatory recapture. For all of them really know it is alive and well. But since they are the very ones who participate in this most sickening hidden practice, they look at you and say it's just a vague theory. Next question, please. If you persist in your questioning, their next response is, I'm not going to get into all that conspiracy stuff. Then they simply will ignore you, dismissing you with some pretend anger in their voice. You, little citizen, asking these questions in your t-shirt and jeans, are booed by the crowd. For what would you know? You are not the politician in the suit on the television. You are not the professor in a white lab coat. Shut your face and get out of the way. You're a meddling troublemaker. That's roughly how it works. So the masses, the general public, through their own strength of ignorance, continue to stay that way, unaware of the sick workings of the politicians, their bureaucrats, their regulators. What we the people are meant to, what we the people are meant to have is a big, heavy, wrought iron gate. And the lofty, moral, intelligent gatekeepers, being the regulators, who stand guard and will only swing that gate open after they have checked and rechecked with genuine independence of what your industry want to let loose on the public, on our environment. Only then, with great caution, will we open that gate, that magnificent, glorious gate. Only then we will open it. You may then enter our community with your goods, whatever they may be. But be sure we'll be watching over your product, your industry, with eagle eyes. And if any skullduggery or indiscretions are found, you will be thrown out of our city, and that gate on its heavy hinges and powerful lock will be slammed shut with you and your tainted products on the other side. In the wilderness of shame, broken finances and incarceration, you and the others who follow will quickly learn. We are the all-powerful gatekeepers. Very, very rarely will you get past us with corrupt, impure products. If you ever do, though, the pain and suffering you would inflict on our people will be reversed and inflicted on you. So that's just really some fantasy for you. That's how it's meant to work. The regulators are supposed to be the gatekeepers to protect us, the people. We pay them for that. We pay their expertise for them to do that. In my opinion, they don't, across all the fields. So there is some fantasy for you of what should be the case, or what the politicians want us to believe. It's a pity that gate is still there. It exists in all its glory, a little weather-beaten. The heavy hinges have rusted, holding the glorious gate in an open position. Weeds have encroached the magnificent gate, helping not only to keep it open, but almost hiding it from view. The moral gatekeepers are nowhere to be seen anymore. All have scattered, only to become great pretenders, skillfully acting out their slimy part. It's now so difficult to work out who is controlling who, as both the regulator and the regulated walk in and out that gate, shaking hands, rubbing shoulders, shouting each other drinks, supporting each other's position. The only time that old impressive gate now ever gets any attention is when an individual or a small group with a strong moral spine start pulling and cutting at those weeds, oiling the rusty hinges. For they have applied for the gatekeeper's job. Alas, the slimy ones pounce. Their job application or promotion will be squashed. Anyone with a character of decency will be eliminated in one way or another. Subtly but efficiently they are escorted well away from that gate. For both the parasite who work as a regulator and the parasite who work for the regulated pharmaceutical company need each other to survive, totally protecting each other while they suck the blood out of the people, their unaware host. The politicians and the media will make sure you, the citizen, are kept in the dark. The only doctors here that work for all the above are the spin doctors, and a web of deceit they do spin. Yes, regulatory capture is a myth.